On the News Hour debate tonight on whether the 2G note was prepared at the PMO's insistence, or rather should we say why the 2G note was prepared at the PMO's insistence, what can be read into that, whether that gives us a new angle in the manner in which we look at what was seen to be differences between Mr. Chidambaram and Pranab Mukherjee in the past. We are joined by Manish Tiwari of the Congress Party, Siddharth Nath Singh, spokesperson of the BJP, Jay Panda, Member of Parliament of the BJD, Mohammad Salim, senior leader of the CPIM. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on tonight's News Hour debate. Manish Tiwari, first question obviously will go to you tonight. There are some people who are asking why did, so far when all of this happened, it was seen to be some kind of a feud between Pranab Mukherjee and Mr. Chidambaram. Now Mr. Pranab Mukherjee writes a letter to the Prime Minister in which he puts on record and he says quite clearly that I was not in favor of putting all of this on record or in paper. But I did so only because the Prime Minister's office, a joint secretary in the PMO was insisting. She was making repeated calls. Why was the PMO insisting that Pranab Mukherjee's office should put what are seen to be reservations on policies on Mr. Chidambaram on record? What's to be read here, Manish?
Arnab, as you would realize, I am constrained by my membership of the Joint Parliamentary Committee to actually keep an open mind on these issues. So keeping that constraint in mind, I would like to just very briefly and very succinctly put forth one or two points. Yes. The first is that whatever note may have been prepared, whether it is the note dated 25th of March 2011 or any other correspondence which may have taken place before that or after that, essentially pertain to the period between 2003 and 2009, when most of the decisions with regard to the second phase of the implementation of the Universal Access Service License were taken. So therefore, all that material is already before the Joint Parliamentary Committee. Aspects of it were considered by the Public Accounts Committee. The courts are also going into it. And at the heart of the entire matter lies the omnipresent question whether the decision to go ahead and follow the USL decision, which was taken on 31st of October 2003, was the correct decision, or there should have been an auction, which is what the CAG had alluded to. And since the jury is out, I would really like to hold my horses and not arrive at a definitive conclusion, because we are considering that matter in the Joint Parliamentary Committee.
Would you concede?
So therefore,
Manish, I can see there that I can see at least 2 or 3 members of our panel who are very keen to come in at this stage. But before that, I want to ask you once, would you concede tonight, Manish Tiwari, that it was wrong of the government to underplay the importance of the March 25th Note A, B, that there will be questions on why something that is embarrassing for one minister, there was an insistence that that be put on record? Surely the officials knew that this could end up being very embarrassing for Mr. Chidambaram. Why put it on record when even Pranab Mukherjee was not keen to do so? Why embarrass Mr. Chidambaram?
Again, Arnab, since we had heard the representatives of the Ministry of Finance yesterday in the Joint Parliamentary Committee, and their deposition continues, it may be incorrect for me to answer this particular question at this stage. But I would like to very, very categorically put it on record that the 25th of March 2011 note was only a recreation of events which had taken place and which are already under the purview of the Joint Parliamentary Committee. So therefore, I think a little too much is being made out of a note which at the end of the day was really a compilation of the sequence of events which had taken place over a period of 6 years.
Here's a question. As I get into the first rebut, question comes once again. Why was Pranab Mukherjee almost forced to put his reservations about the policies of Mr. Chidambaram, or what would have appeared to be that, in writing? First rebut from Siddharth Nath Singh to Manish Tiwari. Go on, Siddharth.
Arnab, there is a clear design by the Prime Minister's office to bail out the Prime Minister. Please roll back what the Prime Minister had said in the Parliament, that I had no reasons to pursue, or I was convinced once the Finance Minister, then the Finance Minister and the Telecom Minister told me all is well.
Okay.
Now, there are revolutions which are coming out, exposes coming out. Even as of today, you have exposed that the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister office was preparing another, proposal on the 2G.
True.
And the Prime Minister office was well aware of what the allocation has to be done. The spectrum is a scarce resource. All this was known. So the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister office did not act. It's a cover-up was being made, and that is the reason the Finance Minister, now Finance Minister, was forced by the PMO Joint Secretary that para needs to be added, which nails Chidambaram. No doubt.
So you're saying passing the buck?
Bail out Mr. Chidambaram. Mr. Chidambaram is politically culpable because he could have stopped. But the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister office is trying to bail out the Prime Minister. That's the whole conspiracy about it.
Okay,
and you have rightly exposed it within last 24 hours between yesterday and today.
Question tonight is this, Manish Tiwari. Manish Tiwari is listening on patiently. I want to get the others. This piece of paper, and Manish, let me tell you one thing. You have got a fantastic defense tonight. You say, I'm a JPC member, I can't say anything. But Manish, also Congress spokesperson, we'll put some questions at you tonight. Manish has got his broadest smile out, ladies and gentlemen. This piece of paper, which I have with me tonight, is a noting of the internal correspondence of the Prime Minister's office. I want to hold it up here. The dates are out there. It's an authentic document. I am absolutely certain that of all the people of the panel tonight, Manish Tiwari, being a JPC member, has seen this note. What does this note say? It tells you that within the Prime Minister's office, between the Secretary to the Prime Minister and the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, Mr. T.K. Nair, there was these serious deliberations to make an alternative policy. And this alternative policy was actually written out, a new policy, it's here, and it was dated the 6th of January 2008. Here's the date. It's the signature of Pulak Chatterjee on it. My question tonight is this. Mohammed Salim, here's the situation. 6th of January 2008, a full policy is made for the Prime Minister saying that here's an alternative way of looking at this whole 2G business. On the 11th of September, of January 2008, the Prime Minister's, one of his officials sends out a note that today the DOT has issued the licenses. Do you feel the PMO or the PM or the government could have intervened between the 6th of January 2008 and the 11th of January 2008 when Raja did his dark deed, Mr. Salim? Could he have been stopped?
Definitely. Definitely. That was the authority of the Prime Minister's and the Prime Minister's office, but they did not do it. And the situation is so that when something went basically wrong, the more you try to conceal, it's more revealing. When they tried to harmonize their approach, now the disharmony has come out. So it was all happened at the end of the 2006, December 2006 and January 2007. So Prime Minister's office was know of the thing. So it's a wrong saying that all these days it was said that Prime Minister did not know this. He even talked to the editors, senior editors, he said this, had it been known to me. Even after, from February 2008, when it come to light, when we made the press conference and said this is the loss of the exchequer, all these years the Congress was saying that nothing has happened. And they didn't know. And it was compulsion of coalition. But now we found that they convinced the finance ministry and they could convince directly or indirectly the Prime Minister or the Prime Minister's office.
How do you know that? How can we say that for sure?
It's a nexus.
No, 1 minute. How can we say that for sure?
Because let me repeat the same question. When the December end 2006 and January beginning, the Prime Minister knew that these things are going like this and they wanted to pursue some alternative, but they did not do it.
No, there are two ways of looking at it. There are two ways.
The office knowing fully well.
There are two ways of looking at it. Jay Panda, before I go back for a complete rebut to Manish Tiwari, the two ways of looking at it are this. The Prime Minister was actually preparing a draft through his trusted advisors, Pulak Chatterjee and T.K. Nair, a complete draft saying, let us look at the merit of what Mr. Raja was doing. And that draft was almost ready on the 6th of January 2008, it was ready. That's what this document tells me. But Raja, being Mr. Raja, he got wind of it. Jay, here's the story Raja got wind of it, and before the Prime Minister could do anything, Raja went and issued the licenses. No, 1 minute, Siddharth, I can see your finger go up. I am only saying that can be the argument, Jay. What do you think? Did Raja preempt the Prime Minister?
Arnab, let me put some perspective to this whole issue.
Okay.
You know, I believe on the September 26th, the latest letter from the Finance Minister to the Prime Minister, it talks specifically of, quote unquote, to evolve a harmonized position on the issues concerning 2G allocation and pricing. Now, what does that mean in a layman's term?
Yes.
To evolve a harmonized position simply means, boys, let's get our stories straight. Now, the problem is that it's very difficult to get your stories straight when there have been lies after lies to cover up an original sin. Now, if you ask me whether Mr. Raja was so powerful that he could overrule the Prime Minister, now I really don't know how to answer
not overrule.
that. Now,
Not overrule.
in normal circumstances,
not overrule.
that should not be the case.
No, here's
that
a question.
Should not be the case.
Here's a counter question to you, Jay. If the Prime Minister...
You mean rush it through.
No, if the Prime Minister was going to go along with what Mr. Raja said, why would the Prime Minister have commissioned two of his most powerful officers, Siddharth is wanting to come in again, two of his most powerful officers into creating an alternative proposal? This has never come out on television. We have a copy of it tonight. The PMO was making an alternative proposal on the 2G business. We never knew about it.
The point is that no alternative proposal was ever acted upon.
No,
I
but
think
it was
that's the
made.
crucial issue.
Why was it made? As a cover?
It could have been, you know, there's an old saying about, working in such a manner that you don't break your stick and neither do you kill the snake. So you have deniability and you have all options of showing your good intentions.
This is getting very interesting. Siddharth wanted to come in. I wanted to go back to Manish actually, but I'll let you give that one rebut. Yes.
Arnab, your question that Raja got wind of it,
yes,
and therefore he acted. Let me, firstly, it cannot be the case.
Why?
Because if the Raja can get wind of what the Prime Minister's office is doing, then the Prime Minister office cannot be sleeping and they don't get to know what Raja was doing.
1 minute, I'll tell you how.
Let me presume your question.
Can I tell you how?
No, Raja, I'm going ahead with, and I'm presuming, Arnab, please hear me out. I'm presuming Raja got wind of what the Prime Minister was going to do or his office was going to do.
Yes.
However, now that of your 25th March letter, which has been written by Finance Ministry to the Prime Minister PMO, it says it may be mentioned that while the US licenses were signed between February 27th and March 7, 2008, spectrum allocation were done starting only in April 2008. If the Prime Minister knew about it, the Raja got wind of it and he acted one step ahead of the Prime Minister office, you had enough time.
No, 1 minute.
To stop him.
No, 1 minute. I
so
want to point out.
So why do you write a note on 11th of January?
Siddharth.
11th of January 2008, where it says, PM says that the DoT has issued licenses totally, and that should be considered. Why that was written? There are many questions now being raised at the Prime Minister's action. It was political culpability of Chidambaram which has been highlighted. Now all these letters are showing political culpability of the Prime Minister. Therefore the investigation needs to be brought right to the Prime Minister's office and the Prime Minister.
To be fair, you ask a question. Now I need to go back to Manish. And I must say tonight that Manish is giving everyone an extremely patient hearing. Question tonight is this. I want to point out to you, say, how did Raja know? It must be said that in this letter of Pulok Chatterjee, it is mentioned in the second last line, the undersigned, which is Pulok Chatterjee, before giving this to TK Nair, has discussed this with the new Secretary DoT. So it's been officially discussed with Raja's secretary. So maybe Raja's secretary level officer went and told him. So it's not completely unknown to Raja. Question tonight is this. Manish Tiwari, please explain this puzzle, please, for us. The Prime Minister's office between the 29th of December 2007 and the 6th of January 2007 works overtime to create an alternative policy. However, between the time it creates the alternative policy and Raja issuing his licenses, 4 days pass. Why did the PMO do nothing in those 4 days to stop Raja when an alternative policy was ready?
Arnab, again, without breaching the propriety of the Joint Parliamentary Committee, allow me to address this issue a little holistically.
Sure.
You know, the debate about pricing of spectrum actually goes back to 2001, when the entire criteria, the subscriber linked criteria, was evolved. And at different points in time, not only within government but even the regulator kept giving different recommendations as to how spectrum really needs to be auctioned. In fact, on the 31st of October 2003, when the decision to migrate to a universal access service license regime was taken by the NDA government, those TRAI recommendations also very unambiguously talked about pricing spectrum. But that is an issue which the then NDA government chose to ignore. And again, to fast forward to 2007, and just for the information of my esteemed friend Mr. Siddharth Singh,
yes,
that not only were there apprehensions within government as to whether the license should be auctioned or, the same USL policy should be followed,